Hi, my name is Terry. Welcome to this video. My username across the internet is Surpassing Google, and I am a legitimate illiterate. That is of pertinence to know for the sake of this discussion. Basically, I'm going to be talking about what decentralization means to me. Yes, I may be disoriented, but you will still manage to get my gist. So, what does decentralization mean to me? It's grand. It's a really grand topic. When you look at the context, not just the word. The word by itself is quite powerless. When you pay attention to the context of this word, and you'll see how grand it is. Yes, what it means to me is grand. Like I said, it's an issue that inflicts the entire globe. But it is understandable because humans are imperfect in nature. I wonder why this is not very common knowledge, but that is a fact. We are imperfect in nature. Yes, we have brains powerful than a supercomputer. We have everything, tangible towards attaining at least a measure of perfection. But there are curriculums in place, that hampers on this, and it is preempted, really. These curriculums in place are barriers to decentralization. Telling you that decentralization is a world issue, it has nothing to do, it's bigger than technology, blockchain technology, and the efforts of this technology to bring about decentralization is bigger than all that. It's really a world issue. It has to do with humans and the imperfect state of humans. That being said, a measure of decentralization is attainable, but just a measure of it, not 100% of it. So according to me, I'm not bashing of people who, stay only familiar with centralized systems or who aren't yet fans of decentralized systems. Why? Who am I to bash them? In its entirety, it's a foreign concept. It's a new concept, even by today's standards. There is a technology called blockchain technology that is aiming to stare or bring about a measure of decentralization, and it's really working great in that regard. But overall, it's still a new concept. The reason is because there are curriculums in place to keep centralization in place. Centralization is good for business, basically. Where each human merely constitutes a client. Where there are centralized bodies, then there's monopoly of power, there's monopoly of knowledge, there's monopoly basically of every human activity, barriers to entry in place, so that almost all human activities become exclusive, rights to, a certain group considered as elites according to them, owners, leaders, and all that, so that a larger expanse of the human populace have to sought these luxuries. Regular human activities are now luxury for the large populace of humanity, exclusive to just a few. That is the state of the world. That is what is obtainable in the world. There are entire nations put in place to constitute barriers to decentralization. There are entire curriculums in place to the same effect. So it's really, a big deal where you can even attain a measure of decentralization in this world. And when I say grand, it's grand because it affects almost every industry. I'm talking of almost every human activity. There is barriers to entry. Speaking of human activities, even air, Air, if there's a chance to monopolize air, centralize it, that will have been the case. Because the way the world works, everything constitutes a potential product. Like I mentioned, every human a client. So knowledge, you need to sought after these things. You need to reverse someone to attain this knowledge. So it's no coincidence that knowledge is kept complex, unattainable by anyone. See, that's just one example of one very important aspect of human living. What do you want to mention? The internet, that's access to knowledge as well. Knowledge that in reality is tangible to human evolution, the collective human evolution, is barriered as well. We know who is going to rank in the search engines. We know, a measure of relevance is popularity. We know that certain IP locations will rank better than others. It's funny how you turn to the internet because you're barriered by your location or your nation. And you turn to the internet hoping that it will constitute a level playing field. You'll have a measure of equality, when it comes to the ranking or visibility of your content. And you are told to scrum for being from a certain IP locations. Even the internet has not evolved towards decentralization. You want to, you have a startup and you want to write a Kickstarter campaign, and you go on Kickstarter and your nation is not eligible. You go on Indiegogo, the same thing. You want to use the crowdfunding feature on Facebook, the same thing. Your nation is not eligible. You see how extensive this is. Mention one human activity. You want to write content. There's a barrier there. You're told to be a blogger. You're told to be a vlogger. And to be a vlogger, you're told to have fancy camera, the right kind of pouted lips. A blogger, you're told to reference others and to be excellent, perfect, almost perfect. When you are not perfect, then you're considered low-level blogger. The world of programming, entire nations are in place constituting barriers. Some nations are labeled developed, some third world. So the human activity, programming, same thing. You're from India, you're from the Philippines, you undergo the same study as someone from another location, and you're suddenly told that you have to be paid lower because you're from somewhere that is considered third world. You see? So we're talking of grand stuff here. Decentralization is very vast in the aspects of human life that it affects, beyond content, beyond just content. And every human activity, there is none that you mention that is decentralized in reality. Even space, human resources, even space, maybe you call that a resource, an earthly resource. It's not available to you. There are certain places you'll walk into and it's considered private. In reality, the earth is for everyone, and that's the truth. But so a full decentralization will only happen in paradise, where factors like fear are not in play. Fear of a fellow human, of danger, where humans really attain their value. Are full-blown humans, are perfect. Then, because you're a testimony to perfection, a full-blown human, you will not be very reserved when it comes to fellow human. Humanity becomes the brother next to you. That being said, a measure of decentralization can occur now, but the approach to, creating awareness to decentralization, according to me, has to involve an entire curriculum, a mentality adjusting curriculum. While some may take the route of executing code, to channel humans and curb them so that they, become decentralized, so to speak. That is not my approach as a legitimate illiterate. My approach will be that an entire curriculum plays out. So even by means of technology, let's say blockchain technology, the code will have those paradigms that play out a curriculum that incites humans to evolve towards full-blown humanhood. The more we are able to evolve towards full-blown humanhood, there will be further decentralization. It's just that. In many cases in the world, we aren't full-blown humans. We aren't evolved to that extent. Why? Because decentralization has been a factor. Knowledge necessary or tangible for this evolution is exclusive, made complex, unattainable, unreachable by you and me. And further barriers, because now to get this knowledge, you have to pay money. Go through with an entire curriculum and pay, to access this knowledge. And money constitutes a form of barrier as well, preventing decentralization. Because where you don't have money, then you don't attain that knowledge that should be available to anyone is unattainable by you. Now, besides that, there are curriculums in place that propagate knowledge to keep the cycle of centralization in place. So what's the essence of the secular schools of today? They are curriculum in a manner that you want to pursue excellence, and in a way that you're no longer a decentralized being. It's no longer about the community. It's now in entirety about you. Attaining excellence and stamping on anyone to attain it. Competition. After that, you enter into the scheme of looking for a job and climbing a career ladder. Stamping people in the process as well. And route all this, you don't evolve other aspects of your human. You evolve mostly your brain, in pursuit of excellence, in pursuit of talent. Other aspects of your human, there is a compromise there. Your human virtues, things like self-sacrifice, forgiveness, mentality, these things aren't fully evolved, hampering on the possibility for decentralization. Because you may be a geek, but you may not have evolved your social aspect. Your compromising aspect, your forgiving aspect. So how can you be part of decentralization? To where you are able to share the world with others. So basically, it's very grand. Now speaking of blockchain does a lot. It does a lot. For example, it attempts to make knowledge decentralized, a public ledger open to anyone. That's powerful in itself. Where you have access to the same pot of knowledge that everyone, who uses the blockchain has. That brings about a measure of decentralization. The only thing Facebook has over us, giving it its capacity to influence us, to stay centralized, to hold us accountable, because that's part of decentralization. Their ability to hold us accountable while we cannot hold them accountable is knowledge. While Mark Zuckerberg has all knowledge about you, even down to your response to stimuli, you know nothing about him. That knowledge is private in that regard. So you're not able to hold him accountable in return. You're not able to influence him. Staring centralization and an entire cycle of it. Now blockchain does the reverse and stores data on a public, permanent, immutable ledger. enabling you, assuming Mark Zuckerberg was on the blockchain, to gain insight into his world, his response to stimuli, his actions, and then you can have a chance at influencing him, same as it does you, a chance at holding him accountable, giving you a certain measure of ownership, and altogether a measure of equality and decentralization. See, so blockchain does a very powerful role in itself, but blockchain does have the potential of failing where it is not used to its full potential. Blockchain does have grand potential, but it has to be used. To this effect, altogether, it's just a tool, and it will shape up according to the humans that use it. So it all boils down to the human evolution. Blockchain plays a more testimonial role or essence where it is used towards the human evolution, where we use the beautiful facets of blockchain towards our evolution. As we begin to attain full-blown humanhood, we begin to attain more decentralization. We start to transcend barriers like nation. We start to look at fellow humans as of value. And decentralization begins to hold sway. Today, in today's world, humans lose value by the day. With technological advancement, humans continue to lose value to inanimate things. Money, chihuahuas, Superman, CryptoKitties, these things are beginning to garner more value than fellow brothers, than humans. Blockchain is testimonial where it is used to return value to humans. Relegate the role of money in society, relegate the role of all these inanimate things, and restoring value to humans. But if we decide to replay the tenets in existence in the world on blockchain all over again, merely in a bid to redistribute rewards, blockchain will become an ordinary tech and fade like techs before it. Fade in its ability to bring about decentralization. It is already happening. So my role on blockchain, because I value blockchain, is to create innovations that are blockchain born, that incites humans to mind their human, to evolve every aspect of their human. So I tackle activities, human activities, remove barriers to entry to this activity, courtesy of the beautiful features that blockchain avails us of. For example, content creation, we use blockchain features to remove barriers to entry in this regard. So I created a form of content called U-Logs, where everyone can entertain a grander measure of freedom when it comes to creating content, without researching from the internet. Where content is created fresh, dynamic, content is made queen. But this overall content is used as an avenue to consciously mine or evolve the human. Then content becomes powerful, more potent as a tool towards decentralization. I have another decentralized application that removes barriers to entry from dream building, enabling the evolution of more dreams into reality, more noble dreams. This is an entire curriculum in play. So I'm not after creating a flawless blockchain, one with the perfect code, capable of predicting human behavior and then curbing or governing this behavior. That is not my method as a legitimate religion. It's more about playing an entire curriculum, giving people access to activities that were once exclusive, using the innovations I mentioned, then inciting them to use these human activities now also towards their conscious evolution. So they will be doing things they normally do, but underlyingly there are paradigms that will incite them towards incite their evolution dynamically and enable them attain full-blown humanhood. This way decentralization will come about, but still, because of imperfection, a measure of it So decentralization is more about, compromise. It's not about competition or where you eliminate concepts like bomb, average, or smart, for instance, and everyone suddenly becomes genius. So it's about community compromise. In the face of flaws, exercise your human virtues and maintain peace. So I'll keep this video short. This is just to say that decentralization is very big. Means a lot to me. But I do understand that people need to evolve towards decentralization. It's not something that can happen with the snap of a finger. So I will not bash people who want to stick with centralization. And besides that, I give room for evolution. So I'm not conclusive about people. I know that they may be, they may not be open to decentralization today, but may be open to it tomorrow. So besides all that, I said this video to say that it is beyond, blockchain technology, way beyond that, or way beyond that. It is a world issue. And establishing this is very important in establishing solutions. Because where you don't establish it as a world issue, then you may not be able to provide the correct tissue. Anyway, I'm your boy Terry. I want to keep this video short because there's a lot to say, but it's better to keep it short. I'll just add a summary and some additional points underneath, so please read that. I'm your boy Terry. My username across the internet is Surpassing Google. Stay awesome. Surpassing Google, that's the meaning of surpassing Google. It has to do with decentralization using a curriculum. So the meaning of surpassing Google is removing all barriers to entry from everything good, so that everything becomes available, everything good becomes available to anyone. To do this, we need to abate half-humanism and hand-to-mouthism. To further do this, we need to fix the rarity in the great men industry. So there's a rarity in the great men industry, especially today with advancement in technology and all that. It's no coincidence. We fix this rarity, we surpass Google. I'm your boy Terry. Stay awesome.